So here we are. Divorce pending. Clean house. Mine clearer than it's been in years. People ask if I'm okay, and the honest answer is better than okay. Not because the pain wasn't real, it was. Still is sometimes. But because I stopped holding on to someone who didn't mind watching me drown while she floated on lies. Here's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. It's not just about what they did. It's about what you ignored. The little compromises, the self-doubt, the way you swallow things just to keep the peace. Looking back, I let too much slide in the name of love, and all it did was grease the wheels for her to slide right past me emotionally. But I'm not bitter. Seriously, I'm not walking around with a chip on my shoulder or a "women suck" tattoo on my soul. I still believe in love. I just believe in it with my eyes open now. So if you're reading this because you're where I was, let me say this. You're not crazy. You're not weak for trusting someone you loved. And walking away doesn't make you the bad guy. It makes you the one finally choosing self-respect over potential. I'm not a victim in this story. I'm the survivor. And I'm just getting started. After that conversation, everything moved fast. Papers were filed. She cried. I stayed steady. Friends found out. Some were shocked. Some weren't. Turns out, when you stop pretending, a lot of things get clearer, like who actually respected the relationship and who was just waiting to say, "I never liked her anyway." Rachel moved out a week later. Took her clothes, her yoga mat, and the 6 different kinds of face serum I used to trip over in the bathroom. She asked if we could talk. After some time, I said, "Sure." Which, for the record, was a polite version of never again. I won't lie, the house felt weird at first. Too quiet. No sound of her walking barefoot across the hardwood. No smell of overpriced candles named things like Jasmine Moonrise. But the weird thing? It didn't feel lonely. It felt clean. Peaceful. Like the static had finally cleared. Therapy helped. So did going back to the gym. And calling my brother to go fishing. I even started cooking again. Actual meals. Not just man-survival bowls of eggs and sriracha. It's amazing what happens when your brain isn't constantly running damage control. And maybe the best part? I started laughing again. Like, actually laughing. With people. At myself. At dumb stuff. I didn't realize how long I'd been walking around like a tightened spring until it finally let go. Rachel texted a few times after she moved out. I didn't block her. I just stopped responding. Some things don't need a closing statement. 2 nights on Nate's couch gave me more clarity than months of pretending had. It's amazing what a fridge full of beer and a buddy who says, "Yep," at the exact right moments can do for your perspective. On the 3rd morning, I stood in his driveway, sipping coffee, staring at my truck. That's when it hit me. I didn't miss her. Not even a little. I missed who I thought she was. I missed the version of us I'd built in my head, the loyal partner, the shared inside jokes, the lazy Sundays. But her? The real her? The one who gaslit, lied, and took a wrecking ball to our marriage while telling herself she was navigating a rough patch. Nah. I was done. I drove home with a quiet finality. She was sitting on the couch when I walked in, face tight, eyes puffy. Before she could say anything, I sat down across from her and said, "I'm filing." She froze. "What?" "I'm done, Rachel. This whole thing, it's a sinking ship. And I'm not going down with it." She started crying. "I've been trying. You've been managing perception." "That's different," she begged. "I'll do better. I'll cut off Jenna. I'll go full no contact. I'll do anything." "Too late," I said. "You had your shot. You had lots of shots. I'm not angry anymore, I'm just clear." And I don't want to spend the next 10 years waiting for the next lie. She asked if there was someone else. I laughed. Yeah, me. I'm finally choosing me. That night, I slept better than I had in months. So, she agreed to the terms. Counseling appointments were booked. She handed over her phone like it was a peace offering, unlocked, notifications and all. And for the first week, I'll admit, she played the part. Attentive, remorseful, no late-night strategy sessions or suspicious texts. But here's the thing about trust. Once it's cracked, everything sounds like a lie until proven otherwise. One night while she was in the shower, I was clearing notifications from her phone. Yes, I had that level of access now, when I noticed a muted thread in her messages. That was odd. We'd agreed no hidden conversations. It was her friend Jenna. The same Jenna who introduced her to Brent at a company mixer. Curiosity 1. I opened it. Turns out Jenna was more than just a friend. She was her confidant during the affair. I scrolled back through old messages she clearly hadn't bothered to delete, and there it was, months of advice, encouragement, and "You deserve to feel good, girl." Garbage. One gem stood out. Just be careful. If he finds out, act like it was a one-time mistake. Don't let him guilt you. You had your reasons. My jaw clenched so hard I gave myself a headache. I confronted Rachel that night. Told her straight. You lied by omission. Again. And now I know it wasn't just Brent. It was a whole support system of people enabling you to play victim while you made me into the fool. She broke down. I didn't want you to think worse of me, she sobbed. Too late, I said. You should have worried about that before you handed your dignity over to a guy who uses cologne like it's Febreze. That was the moment I realized, even with all the right words and actions, she was still wired for self-preservation first. Not truth. Not accountability. I didn't blow up. I just took my keys, walked out, and stayed at Nate's for a couple nights. Sometimes distance is the clearest mirror. After the kitchen table truth session, I gave it a couple days to breathe. We existed in this strange limbo, sharing space, barely talking, each of us orbiting the other like two planets that used to have gravity but now just spin awkwardly past each other. Then, one night over dinner, yes, we'd gotten back to eating together. Small victories, she asked. So what happens now? And I told her. If you want to try and salvage this, you need to know something. I'm not doing it to protect us anymore. I'm doing it to protect me. Which means my trust isn't on tap. You don't get to just be sorry and go back to normal. She nodded. I get that. I continued. So here are the terms. Full access. Phone, laptop, email, everything. Transparency isn't optional. You lie again, I'm gone. She flinched but nodded. Next, no contact. With Brent or anyone connected to that mess. Not a text, not a like on Instagram. Ghost him like your conscience should have done months ago. More nodding. Less confident this time. And we go to counseling. Together and separately. Because this didn't just break trust, it cracked the foundation. She said, I'll do whatever it takes. I looked her in the eye and said, then prove it. Not with words. With consistency. Over time. Was I asking her to live under surveillance? A little. But you don't get to set fire to your house and then complain about the fire alarms. She said okay. She agreed to everything. But in her eyes, I could still see fear, not of me, but of who she had to become if she wanted to fix this. And for once, that wasn't my problem to solve. 2 weeks after the blow-up, I sat her down at the kitchen table, the same one where she used to scroll Pinterest, and I used to read the paper like an old man. This time, no distractions. Just 2 chairs, one ugly truth, and me with a calm I hadn't felt in months. Look, I said. I'm not interested in who said what or how drunk anyone was. I'm not here for another round of lies dressed up as context. I need you to understand something clearly. She nodded, eyes big, already on the verge of tears, which, to her credit, she actually held back this time. I didn't deserve this, I said. Not the betrayal, not the gaslighting, and definitely not being made to feel crazy for noticing. She started to say something. I held up a hand. I'm not done. She leaned back, quiet. I've been loyal, supportive. I didn't snoop, didn't accuse. I trusted you so much it honestly embarrasses me now. And you took that and spit on it. With Brent, a guy you don't even respect enough to hide properly. Now the tears started. I let her cry for a bit, then said, I've been talking to a therapist and a lawyer. I haven't decided what I'm doing yet, but I want you to understand that this version of us, it's over. Whether we try to build something new from the rubble, that's up to you. But the old marriage? The one where I trust you blindly and you lie through your teeth? Dead and buried. She whispered. I know. I know I messed up. No, I said. You chose to mess up. Over and over. That wasn't a mistake. That was a pattern. She didn't argue. That was the first time I saw real remorse. Not crocodile tears, not panic. Just a woman staring at the damage she caused and realizing there was no duct tape big enough to fix it. After that talk with Nate, something in me re-engaged, like a part of my brain that had been asleep finally stretched, cracked its knuckles, and said, All right, let's get serious. I didn't go full scorched earth. I'm not that guy. But I started documenting every message, every inconsistency. I took pictures of the laptop screen, archived the texts, even backed up some things she probably thought she deleted. Not because I planned on launching a legal nuke, just so I'd have truth in my pocket if she ever tried to gaslight me into thinking it was all in my head. Next, I started talking to a therapist. Not for her. For me. I needed a sounding board that wasn't a buddy or a bottle. And man, that first session? Rough. I sat there trying to act composed while the therapist, this older guy with kind eyes and the patience of a monk, just nodded slowly and let the silence stretch until I cracked. I told him I wasn't sure if I wanted to leave or if I just wanted her to feel what I felt. He said something simple but sharp. Do you want healing? Or do you want revenge dressed up as justice? That one hit. Because deep down, I knew staying just to punish her would turn me into someone I didn't want to be. At home, Rachel could tell something had changed. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't sulking. I was neutral. And that scared her more than any tantrum would have. She started asking questions. Are you seeing someone? Is there someone else? I just smiled and said, Nope. Just figuring things out. Because I was. And for once, I wasn't doing it for her. So I'm parked at this random lake, windows down, staring out at the water like I'm auditioning for a moody indie film. And out of nowhere, I call my buddy Nate. Now, Nate's the kind of guy who doesn't do emotional stuff. This is a man who once sprained his ankle during a camping trip and fixed it with duct tape and bourbon. But when he picked up and heard my voice, just the tone of it, he didn't crack a joke. He just said, All right, start talking. I told him everything. All of it. The texts, the affair, the confrontation, the lying, the phone call I wasn't supposed to hear. And he just listened. Didn't interrupt, didn't offer the usual bro advice. Just let me unload years of trust and confusion and bitterness in one long, broken monologue. When I finally stopped, there was a pause. Then he said, She's not confused, man. She's just selfish. And you've been too damn decent to call it what it is. That hit me like a brick. Because he was right. I'd been bending over backwards to be the understanding husband, trying to process her cheating like a spreadsheet, rational, calm, even-handed. Meanwhile, she was out here playing dress-up in the role of the victim in her own drama. Nate told me something that stuck. You can't fix someone else's integrity. You can only protect your own. After that, I felt something shift. Not anger. Not grief. Just clarity. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew I wasn't going to keep pretending we were still on the same team. And for the first time in a while, I drove home without feeling like I was headed back to a prison. For the most part, our marriage has been pretty solid. Sure, we had the occasional argument about laundry or my lack of enthusiasm for paint samples, but I chalked that up to normal domestic friction. If you asked me a few months ago, I'd have said we were fine, not in a fireworks every night way, but in the comfortable, steady way that's supposed to be good, right? But something shifted. Subtly at first. Rachel got a promotion at her firm, more hours, more travel, more late nights at strategy sessions with her team. I was genuinely proud of her, but also, something started to feel off. It wasn't the time apart that bothered me. It was the tone in her voice when she talked about her new colleague, this guy named Brent. You know when someone mentions a name too often, like it's nothing, but also kind of everything? Still, I didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid, insecure husband. So I brushed it off. Until I couldn't anymore. So Brent. This guy started as a background character, just Brent from marketing, who apparently had all the best ideas and was such a good listener. At first, I didn't think much of it. I mean, people have work friends, right? But then Rachel started dressing differently. Not dramatically, just intentionally. A little more makeup for client meetings. Suddenly needed new lingerie. Just because. That one definitely raised an eyebrow, but again, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. We were still sleeping together, still laughing over Netflix. Nothing screamed cheating. Just hints. Then came the work trip to San Diego. 3 nights, conference at some beachside resort. I offered to drive her to the airport, she said. No, Brent's got it. That was the first time I actually paused. I asked, isn't that kind of weird? And she shot back, half laughing. Oh my God, don't be insecure. He's married. And gay. News to me. Anyway, she was gone for 3 days. Barely any texts. Short, delayed responses. The last night, she went radio silent. Her excuse later? Phone died. Classic. When she came home, she was chipper. Too chipper. Like overcompensating. And her suitcase? Still zipped when I brought it in. She snatched it up fast, said she'd unpack later. But I noticed the faintest smell of cologne that didn't belong to me or her. I didn't say anything right then, just logged the data. Internal red flag count, rising. I was starting to feel like I was in a spy movie, except I was the dumbass husband with the blindfold on. All right, buckle up. This is where the calm before the storm ends. So, about 2 weeks after that San Diego trip, Rachel left for work in a hurry one morning. Forgot her laptop was still open on the dining table. Normally I don't snoop. I've never been that guy. But something about the way she bolted out that day just rubbed me wrong. Gut instinct kicked in, and for once, I listened. The screen was still on her messaging app. I don't even know what I was expecting to see. Maybe a work chat, something harmless that would make me feel like an idiot for even looking. Instead, I saw a thread labeled, Brent Wineglass Fire. Yeah. And let me just say, I didn't have to dig far. The first message at the top was, and I quote, Still thinking about your hands last night. Can't believe we almost got caught, LOL. Worth it. I scrolled up. More messages, all flirty, some downright explicit. There was a selfie of him in a hotel robe, another of her, not nude, but definitely not business casual. My stomach went full roller coaster. It wasn't just sex, it was intimate, emotional, familiar. She'd called me babe in one text, except it wasn't to me. And the worst part? The timestamp on one message, right after she said her phone had died that night in San Diego. So yeah, at that point, I knew. This wasn't some misunderstanding. It was a full-blown affair, and I was the schmuck playing clueless husband while Brent played good listener, and apparently a few other roles too. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, running every conversation we'd had in the past 6 months through my head like a detective rewatching security footage. By the time Rachel got home from work, I'd had 12 hours to simmer in it. She walked in all smiles, kissed me on the cheek, said, "God, traffic was a nightmare." I just stared at her. Silent. Calm. "Hey," she said, eyeing me. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Actually, no. Sit down." Her smile twitched. That's when she knew something was off. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I just opened the laptop, pulled up the messages, and turned it to her. The silence was thick enough to cut with a steak knife. She blinked. "Why were you looking through my laptop?" I laughed. Not because it was funny, more like a reflex when reality punches you in the face. "That's your first response? Not the part where you've been screwing Brent." She stared at the screen like it was in a foreign language. Then, "It's not what you think." I tilted my head. "Really? Because it looks a hell of a lot like what I think." Then came the spiral, first denial, then excuses. "It was a mistake. We were drunk. It only happened once. It was twice. He came on to me. I felt lonely. You're always so busy." Every cliche in the book, served up with crocodile tears and shaking hands. I asked her why she lied about him being married, why she said he was gay. She just muttered, "I didn't think you'd get it." "You're right," I said. "I don't." She slept in the guest room that night. I didn't sleep at all. Morning came. She made coffee like it was any other day, like we hadn't just lit our entire marriage on fire 12 hours prior. I didn't touch the mug. Just sat there watching her like she was someone else, which, in a way, she was now. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I didn't plan for this to happen." I gave her a long look and said, "You didn't accidentally fall onto his dick, Rachel." She flinched. Harsh? Maybe. But I wasn't in the mood to sugarcoat her betrayal. The rest of the conversation was a wreck. She claimed it started in San Diego, that it was just physical, but the text told a different story. I asked if she loved him. She said no. I asked if she was going to end it. She didn't answer. That silence said everything. I told her to pack a bag and go stay with her sister. She refused. Said she wasn't going to be punished like a child. That this was our home too. "Funny," I said. "You didn't seem too concerned about our home when you were playing Hotel Olympics with Brent." She didn't leave. Instead, she kept walking around like a ghost, like if she acted normal long enough, this would all blow over. Meanwhile, I was trying to figure out if the person I married ever really existed, or if she'd always just been wearing a really good mask. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just felt hollow, like the emotional version of when you touch something you know should be hot, but your nerves are too shot to register the burn. The thing they don't tell you about betrayal is how quiet it can be. You expect fireworks, yelling, dramatic tears. But for me, the days that followed were mostly silence. Me on the couch, her in the bedroom. passing each other like coworkers who hate each other but still have to share a printer. I didn't feel rage. Not then. Just a weird, heavy calm, like I was watching it all happen from a few feet above my own body. Maybe my brain was protecting me from the weight of it all. Or maybe I just didn't want to face the fact that the woman I thought I knew was capable of something like this. Every now and then, she'd try to start a conversation. "We should talk. Do you want to do counseling? Can we at least eat together?" And every time, I'd just say, "I'm not ready." Because I wasn't. I couldn't even look at her without picturing Brent in that hotel robe. Friends started to notice something was off. I dodged calls, skipped the gym. My mom called to ask why Rachel hadn't posted anything about our anniversary. I lied. Said we were just laying low this year. Meanwhile, she was still in the house, still going to work, still pretending like things could go back to normal. And honestly, that made it worse. Her ability to compartmentalize like that was disturbing. I started sleeping in the guest room. She didn't fight it. She didn't really fight for anything, now that I think about it. Maybe she knew she'd already lost. So about a week after the whole thing blew up, I came home from grabbing groceries and saw her on the phone, laughing. Not like a polite chuckle. Full-on, head-thrown-back laugh. The kind I hadn't seen from her in months. Maybe years. When she noticed me in the doorway, her face changed fast. She hung up like she was a teenager caught sneaking a call past curfew. "Who was that?" I asked, already knowing. "No one," she said too quickly. "Just Karen from work." I said nothing, just nodded. Then I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a trash bag, and started clearing out the fridge. Like aggressively. Celery didn't stand a chance. 10 minutes later, she's standing in the doorway asking, "Are you okay?" That's when something in me finally snapped. I put the milk down, turned to her, and said, "Rachel, I'm not AF *** king idiot." "That was him, wasn't it?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The silence was louder than anything she could have said. "You're still talking to him? After everything?" I said, voice shaking, not from sadness, from disbelief. "You're still choosing him?" She tried to backpedal, said it was just closure, that she needed clarity. I just laughed, because at that point, clarity was the one thing I did have. "You know what?" I said. "Call him back. Hell, invite him over. I'm done playing security guard in a relationship you already walked out of." Then I left. Got in my truck, drove until I hit a lake I didn't know existed, and just sat there. 4 hours. That was the first time I let myself cry.